So you talked about your vision. What's the vision of Hike It Baby? What's the long-term plan?
Oh, so many plans. Really, right now, just stability for the organization, so it's around for a long time. We are launching a trail guide in January, which is super exciting, which will make it so you don't have to go to 5 different websites now. You can go to one website and find out, is this really a family-friendly trail? And that you don't need a membership for. Everybody can use that. Anyone. It's accessible for all. And so really just like making it so when people join our organization, they feel that support, they feel that love, they feel connected to others, they feel like they really got something out of being part of the community, and that it helped them raise their kids in a really fun, outdoorsy environment. And that we supported them in taking risks and going out in the middle of winter or going out during a rainstorm or, learning about how to read a map or, all those things. So that's the thing. It's just continuing to improve upon supporting people. That's the long-term vision right now.
Okay. In terms of memberships, you talked about 1 million members would be the next big goal.
I wanted to see 1 million people on trail. And, in some ways, I think we probably have done it in that not only have we gotten a lot of people out, but we've inspired other organizations to get people out and to grow. And we've helped other organizations grow in a healthy fashion too, so that they didn't blow up like us. We have a couple of sister organizations and sister brother organizations that we support. And so I think we've gotten there in a lot of ways, because when I started, I found a few online hike groups, but they were like in one town, in Colorado, and then one was in Wyoming, or, like they just there wasn't a consistent group across the country. So, we've done it and we've impacted a lot of other people and inspired a lot of other people. So I feel like we've done it. And my goal is just to keep getting people outside and to show the outdoor industry that like getting outdoors isn't just like climbing a big mountain and rappelling down, or it's not just like hammering it out on a mountain bike or surfing the biggest wave out there. It's really like starting with just like creating outdoor lovers from childhood, where children they'll open your eyes. You go out with a child and they look at a ladybug and they're just fascinated, and you're like, wow, I would have passed right by that ladybug. Or I still always think about this tiny little red spider that my son found on the ground that there's no way I would have ever in a million years seen that spider. And he's like, wow, look at that spider, look at it. And it was like microscopic, and he saw it. And sure enough, it was this tiny little spider. And those experiences are so important. And so that's what I hope we keep influencing and inspiring, is us to all slow down and get down to that 2-year-old level and appreciate and enjoy being outside.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important, because what I've noticed, and also some of the people I've talked to, they keep saying the same thing. There are a lot of kids nowadays that kind of have lost touch to nature and to reality in a way. So they're enclosed in this system within cities, and they never go outside. And it's sometimes it's scary how little they know about nature and how things work. And it could be things like gardening, or even just knowing where food comes from. And it's like anything that gets them in touch with nature is so critically important for their development. And also just doing things with their hand, going outside and climbing trees, even if it's just little branches, but just going there and having the experience that they are not falling down if I just climb this little thing, and that does so much for them in terms of their sense of being and who they are and what they can do. It's critically important, and we need to do more to get people outside and to get kids outside and to have these experiences.
Yeah. It's so important now more than ever, because it's so easy. We've become an inside culture. We don't go outside in the cold. We don't go outside in the wind and the rain or a hot weather. Oh my God, how am I going to go outside in hot weather? It's really important. Like, we do need to get back in touch with being outside. And so the earlier you get kids interested, the better it's going to be, the more that you will impact your child's decision making when they're a teenager, when they're older, when they start thinking about things they want to do with their kids.
Yeah. What did you learn about motherhood?
Oh, from hiking, or
from the past 5 years that you've been doing this? You've seen lots of mothers, and I mean, in a way, it's reducing the whole thing to mothers. It's not only mothers, but it's parenthood, I guess. But parenthood, but motherhood in particular.
Okay, so our tagline for Hike It Baby is "Parenthood is an adventure. Bring it outside." Mm-hmm. And I'd say I learned that. Like, if parenthood is not going well, if motherhood is not going well, just go outside. I've done it at 8 o'clock at night when I should be putting my child to bed. I'm like, no, this day is not going well. We're going hiking. And I've really done that.
Okay.
So I really learned just that, there's no book, there's no guide, there's nothing that can teach you anything but your gut. And if your gut says, like, get outside, go get some exercise, go, explore a little more, trust it and go with it. And I think the big thing I've learned in the last 5 years is releasing fear. It's so easy to be scared when your kid's climbing up something huge or like going near a ledge. Be like, no. And I actually have learned in the last year that all the no, go away from that cliff, go away from that edge has not been good for my son because he's really a cautious person anyway. And he is quite careful and thoughtful. And so I noticed he started getting really mad at me whenever I would do that because I'm not trusting him. So I really have had to learn, you really have to pay close attention to what kind of child you have. And if you have a child that can be trusted, let them, they're not going to get, as long as it's not like a 1,000-foot drop, but if there's a little bit of a ledge, like let your child go to the edge. Give them some free rein, even though it's so scary. Like, it's so hard to watch your kid climb that tree and like, they're they can so fall. Like, you do that because that is going to give you a strong child. And if they break their arm, they break their arm. Like, you will survive it. They will survive it. So just really, like, it's so hard to let go, like you're going to have to do it when they're 18. So you might as well start when they're 3.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a huge thing especially for mothers. I think mothers can just be so like, I see my husband, the way he'll be with my son, and I'm just like, oh my God, like, it's okay to have some cautiousness, but let go, like let go of your child a bit, let them explore, especially in the outdoors, especially in nature. Don't let them go running off in the shopping mall, but if you're outside and they can go ahead of you on the trail, let them go ahead. Let them be the leader because that's going to make them a stronger child. And that's going to make you a stronger person too, because you're trusting yourself. You're trusting your gut is saying your child is a smart child. And sure enough, your child runs ahead and comes back and you were right.
Yeah. And kids are not as stupid as we sometimes think. They do stupid stuff, but they're, in many senses, if you let them just go wild, then they're quite reasonable. So they know their boundaries. They will learn how far they can go, and they will maybe test it a little bit. But no, they're not stupid. They're not going to jump off a cliff just to jump off. At least in most cases, that's what I've experienced.
I've seen there are kids that are like you're like, oh, I'm so glad that's not my kid. But then the boundaries are with your kid and get a really good harness.
And you don't help.
Not averse to leashes.
Yeah, but in a way, you don't help your kids by overprotecting them. You help your kids by exposing them to risks and by teaching them to learn how to manage that risk themselves. Yeah, they will.
Bumps and bruises are great. If your kid falls and hurts themselves, they're going to remember that the next time. That is an important lesson. When Mason falls off of things and he's crying, I run over like, and then I have to be like, no, you're okay. Come on, let's get up, and you see parents do that. And, sometimes like, oh, are they being mean? But no, you've got to do that. You've got to let them cry and cry it out and get up and have them do it again. And then that said, there are times when we do need to,
but still,
you don't want to scare them so much that they won't do it again. So it's a fine balance.
And oftentimes we are more scared than the kids because this summer, for example, we have 3 kids, the 7, 4, and 2 year olds, so 3 girls. And this summer, the little one managed to bump her heads twice. Someone like falling backwards in the stone and like cutting her head open. Like, and everything was full of blood. And then one time we had a garden party, and that happened again, like 2 weeks after the first time. And, there were all these mothers like, oh, do we need to go to the hospital? Like, oh, there's so much blood and everything. Like, oh. And she was like, I want to go play. Like, I don't know what I don't know what all the fuss is about. Like, and then we just kind of knotted the hair together and everything was fine. And so sometimes we just tend to overreact. I mean, it's kids are fine, and then they're gonna think like, yeah, there's blood, but okay. Do you feel fine? Yeah, I feel fine. You want to go play? Yeah, then go play. I mean, it's gonna heal. So.
Yeah, no, it's important to give. I mean, I think it's really important getting them dirty, letting them get dirty. I mean, that's another thing. Like, don't be afraid of dirt, because it's like, it's good for them. They're gonna eat it. They're gonna roll in it. They're gonna. I mean,
and it's healthy for them. It's healthy for them. I've read so many studies that one of the reasons we have so many allergies and we have so many health issues with young kids is because they don't get exposed to dirt as much as they used to. I mean, in the past, you just went outside and just get dirty, and then, as you said, you eat whatever you could find. And nowadays, we have to know just this clinical. Everything needs to be sterile. Don't touch it, and if you touch it.
People worry about taking their kids to playgrounds and public. I was never very wary. Mason didn't get sick a lot, so I'm lucky. I mean, I don't know what it would be like to be a parent with a kid that gets sick a lot, but yeah, I mean, I was really really into him getting germs. People would be like, "Oh, I should come play with you. My kid's got a runny nose." I'm like, "Oh no, come on over, bring that." I wanted to keep his immune system really strong, and I do believe the more you're out in the world, the more you're exposed to, the stronger your body's going to be. Now, that said, with global warming and stuff, there is some scary stuff out there. I mean, there are a lot of mosquitoes and bugs and things. Ticks are a huge problem in America. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Talk about it. Our big daughter just was in the hospital for 2 weeks because of that, because she got she had a tick bite, and we didn't realize it. We usually check when she's coming back home from the woods or something, when she's playing. And we live in an area which is not critical, but where my wife's sister lived, they have a lot of ticks that have And so a few weeks ago she came back home, and she had a really swollen knee. And we thought, okay, maybe it's from she hit her knee somewhere or something, but it just wouldn't go back, and it was hurting. So we went to the doctor, and then they found out that she had antibodies from an older tick infection. And so then they had to start her on antibiotics and everything. And then 2 weeks later, the whole leg started to swell and get red, really red. Like, we were like, oh, geez, this is not good. So we went to basically the emergency room. They said, oh, this doesn't look nice. And so she had to be operated next day, and they looked at your knee and everything. So it's so there was some cross infection with something else that was caused by the so it was really, we 2 months ago we had this really 2 weeks of hospitals in and out and hundreds of tests, and it was crazy. So it is, yeah.
But then again, it's part of nature, and it's aware, but at the same time, it's just the same thing of you can be in a shopping mall and your kid could get run over by something. It's there's so much that can happen everywhere. The fear, nature is not something to be afraid of, because if you just keep an eye on what's happening out there, where your environment, where you're from, where you live, what things are out there. I think I saw something in Backpacker magazine that was talking about being attacked by a shark versus being hit by lightning versus, getting hit by a tick versus, there's really, it's, nature, sure, there's things in nature, but you can just as easily, and there's more likely chance of getting hit by a car on the freeway.
Yeah. And
having an accident on the freeway. So
life is a risk, and always ends up deadly. So at the end of the day, so it's, something we have to learn, deal with, but not as bad. What was your biggest challenge this past 5 years when you were growing the organization?
I think it's just hard to grow something like this. And the first couple years when I was alone at first, and then I had Jessica, who's now the executive director. She was in it with me. There were a few other people involved, but it just was really just not wanting to put the responsibility, because it grew so fast, and so much responsibility on volunteers, because at the end of the day, I was accountable for it. I was the one responsible for it. So it's just hard to grow so fast. I think social media is a wonderful thing, and it can be a curse for small organizations, because people think you're a lot bigger than you are. And
Okay.
because you're everywhere on social media, people think that you're this huge organization. I think for a long time, people thought we were really big because we had all these cities that we were involved in. But we were still just a small group of people. And I don't think people understood we were just a few of us working on it. And I see this so often with nonprofits, and the burnout factor is really high. I mean, really, really high. And so then nonprofits can close. We had another nonprofit here in America that just closed down this year that was started right when we started, and it was a baby wearing organization. And it just, burnout, and they had to file bankruptcy. And, so that's the scary thing is when you start something this big, the responsibility you feel, you can't just walk away from it. I mean, so many times my husband's just like, why are we doing this? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't just walk away. And so that's really hard. And then, just learning all the ropes. I have no nonprofit experience, so learning the ropes was really intense. And there's no real guide to doing something like this because Facebook and Instagram and all of that is blowing these organizations up so fast. There's no real guidance. There's no one there saying, this is how you should build your pages. This is how you should build your newsletter. These are things you should think about if you're a nonprofit. This is what your board should look like. I mean, it seems like it'd be standard, but it's not. There's so much to running a nonprofit, so many pieces. It's hard. Yeah.
So what were the biggest lessons? What mistakes did you make that you, in hindsight, would say, okay, I could have avoided that? Or if you do want to start a nonprofit, then don't do that thing because that's bad.
Yeah. I mean, I think just slowing down and knowing that, I guess I thought we had to be really big to get a lot of support. But then now in hindsight, I see other organizations that started when we started and they weren't big, and they were other types of nonprofits. They weren't around children and hiking. And they didn't get that big, and they're still really popular and growing. And so I think working on the systems first, right away, really understanding nonprofit world, working on the systems, getting the systems in place, and then leaning on other big nonprofits. I've been going more and more to big nonprofits and saying, hey, help us understand this. We just went to a really big one the other day and we're like, hey, what are you doing about your international stuff? Because we are dealing with international stuff. And it was great to hear what they were doing because we view them as this huge multi-million-dollar nonprofit, and that they were struggling with it. We were like, oh, phew.
We're not the only ones.
So it's really, I think really getting those systems in place are so important, and not to be like, we're growing. We don't have time to get that in place. We'll just do it as we go.
So by systems, what do you mean by systems? Like technical systems or?
Your technical, your team, your just all of the pieces that it takes around your board, really picking your board smart. It's so easy to just pick your friends to be on your board in the beginning, but really think about who do you want in there in 3 years and 5 years? And really looking for the finances that are going to help run the nonprofit. Because there's this notion that it's a nonprofit. You don't need money. You need just as much money as a business. To never think that if you're a nonprofit, you're not a business. As a nonprofit, you are a business. You have to run just like a business. You may not have to pay taxes in the same way, but you have to run just like a business, and sometimes even more, because you have to account for every single dollar. So being really understanding that. Transparency is really key. We got accused a number of times of not being transparent enough, but I think, we were just busy running. We don't have time to do an annual report. We're too busy. We got too much going on.
Sure. Yeah.
And so just not, there's just so much, sadly, a lot of nonprofits are being, fingers pointing, oh, they're taking money and doing this, it's too bad that these big nonprofits that really are taking millions of dollars are kind of spoiling it for the little ones that are we don't have any dollars to take. With paying for, in the beginning, I literally ran a thing called the Hike a Baby 30, a challenge to raise $3,000 to keep our website turned on. Because it shut off. We had no more money.
Okay.
And so that's the thing is understanding that, be transparent about it. I'm raising this money because we have to shut off our website otherwise, and we won't continue. So tell people why you're doing it. Because really there's nothing that, as a nonprofit, there's nothing really to hide. You aren't making money for a person. You're doing an organization for the better of humanity and for creating something that didn't exist before and to help people, and the other thing is don't give up on your dream of doing it. Think small, start small. Don't worry about how big it's going to get. Just think small. Think about who you're servicing. Find those super champions around you and ask them to help, like, with that vision. You know, I constantly am stepping back and saying, like, okay, you guys got this. I need to not be part of this vision part because you got this, and trust your team around you. Let people take things on. I mean, I think I definitely micromanaged in the beginning, and that's a temptation in the beginning, but then you have to start going, okay, it's a nonprofit and it's for the better of all people. So what other information can help this organization grow and be strong and be for everyone?
Here comes the sunshine and burns away clouds like they